The day has already let go of its last bright edges. Somewhere far beyond your room, beyond the small circle of lamplight, beyond the hush that collects in corners when the world finally slows, there is a desert that learns every evening how to become still again. The air cools, the sand gives up the heat it held all day, and a soft wind, patient as a lullaby, brushes the surface of the earth as if smoothing a blanket. Tonight, I want to take you there, gently, slowly, without haste. Not to a place of noise or spectacle, and not to a place where anyone must prove anything. We will not chase excitement. We will not pry. We will not yank history awake. We will do something quieter. We will simply look. That is the golden rule, the one I whisper to myself before I step into any ancient space. Do not touch. What if you cannot preserve what you find, unchanged in its dignity, then you do not reach for it. You let it rest. You let it keep its silence. So, settle back where you are. Let your shoulders loosen as if a warm hand has unknotted them. Let the muscles around your eyes soften. If it feels good, take a slow breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth, like a candle's flame being lowered, not blown. Tonight, we are entering a library made of sand, and the pages are not paper. They are stone and linen, resin and dust, names painted in careful strokes, and the long, steady patience of time itself. In Egypt, just outside the city's reach, there is a place where the ground remembers, a place where the desert holds its stories close, not because it is secretive, but because it is faithful. It does not hurry, it does not forget. No, it simply keeps. The name of that place is Saqqara. Picture it as evening approaches, the horizon tinted with honeyed gold, the sky turning from pale blue to a deeper, gentler shade, like a quiet room dimming for sleep. In the distance, the Step Pyramid rises in calm layers, a staircase made for sunlight and shadow. It is not a sharp, modern shape. It is older than so many ideas we take for granted. It is a monument to the moment when humans first dared to build upward in stone, and then to build downward too, into the coolness beneath the earth. Around it, the desert stretches wide but not empty. If you listen with your imagination, you can hear the softest sounds, sand shifting, a distant bird settling, a faint breath of wind moving through dry grass. And here and there, like small islands in a sea of beige, are low walls of mud brick stand, warm-coloured, humble, sun-baked, mud, clay, sand, straw, stirred together with water, shaped by hands and left to dry in the open air until it becomes shelter. Nothing flashy, just practical, quiet craftsmanship. In the old days, people walked these paths with baskets of dates and bundles of papyrus. They carried jars of oils and perfumes, resins and incense, things that smell like comfort and ceremony. The market sounds were never a roar. They were more like wind in fabric, like footsteps passing and continuing on. Life moved, life paused, life returned. And beneath all of that, under the calm surface of sand, there were corridors where the air stayed cool. That is where we are going now. Imagine that we approach a simple opening in the ground. A shaft, squared and dark, framed by stone that has been there for thousands of years. There is no drama in it, just a quiet invitation downward. The sunlight falls into it in a thin slice, then fades. The deeper you look, the more it becomes pure shadow. I switch on a small light, not harsh, not bright, just enough to see. And as we begin to descend step by careful step, you can feel the temperature change, like walking from afternoon into a shaded room. The air grows still. The sounds of the surface become distant, then vanish. Down here you can hear your own breathing as if it is part of the architecture. If you have ever wished the world would lower its volume, this is what it feels like. The walls are close in places. In others, the passage opens into chambers that feel like pockets of night. The stone has a faint scent, dry, mineral, ancient. And sometimes, and if you imagine it, you can almost catch a whisper of resin and linen as though the past has left its perfume behind. This is where a discovery once waited, sealed with mortar, resting as it had been left, undisturbed for a very, very long time. A body wrapped and cared for, not as a curiosity, but as a person. In the modern world, discoveries are often announced with bright headlines and fast voices, but in this library of sand, the truth is slower. The truth is that a sealed chamber does not shout, it simply holds. When the door is found, when the last crumb of mortar is eased away, it is not like a movie. It is like opening a long closed drawer in a quiet house. Dust lifts, air moves. A small, careful light enters first, and then a respectful gaze. And there, in the dim, a figure lies as if the centuries have been asked to keep watch, and layers of linen, folded and wrapped with patient repetition. Each layer a soft promise. We will keep you. We will not abandon you to the desert. We will do what we can with what we have: salt, resin, cloth, care. If time could be wrapped, what would it be wrapped in? Linen, perhaps, woven from the flax that grew near the river, spun and smoothed by hands that knew routine and rhythm. Or resin, tree sap, turned into a protective glaze, aromatic and dark like the scent of warm wood. Or a name, written and spoken again and again so it does not drift away. Some mummies were found covered in gold leaf, gleaming even in the low light, not to show off, but to honor. Gold does not rust. Gold stays. Gold catches the smallest lamplight and turns it into a calm glow, as if the body beneath is still held in the world's gentle attention. Or KBVD 50. But tonight, I want to tell you about a different kind of preservation. A preservation made not of gold, but of restraint. Because not every ancient story is one that we can unfold with our hands. Some stories are too delicate to touch. And that brings us to another chamber, another resting place, another quiet decision, one that has been made again and again by careful people who understand that curiosity can be kind, or it can be careless. There is a mummy, wrapped so intricately that the outer layers look like a pattern, not random, not rushed. A design that repeats, steady as breath, like a small pyramid of cloth laid over the face, as if the linen itself has learned the geometry of reverence. It is the kind of wrapping that makes you instinctively lower your voice even if you are alone. And it is sometimes called the untouchable one. Not because of curses or superstition, but because of a simple truth. Once you disturb a masterpiece of fragile fabric, you may never be able to return it to what it was. And if you cannot return it, then you have taken something away forever. So the golden rule returns: do not touch, just look. In the modern era, we have learned a gentler way to look, a way that feels, in its own quiet way, like compassion. We can use light that passes through without tearing. We can use images that see beneath linen without unwrapping it. X-rays, scans, the soft, patient work of creating a picture from many small glances, stitched together like a quilt. It is a kind of time travel that does not demand the past to perform. It simply listens. And as those images form, layer by layer, slice by slice, something tender happens. The person beneath the wrappings becomes less like an artifact and more like what they always were, a human being, once warm, once hungry, once tired, once loved or longed for. A person who had a name, even if we do not know it yet. In ancient Egypt, a name was not just a label, it was a thread tying you to existence. They had a word for it: Ren. To be remembered was to continue, softly in the world, To have your name spoken was to be touched gently by the living. And maybe that is why tonight, as you listen in your own quiet room, you can feel something familiar in this story. Because even now, even in a modern life full of emails and errands and bright screens, there is a part of you that simply wants to be held in memory without effort, to be known without performing, only to rest without being forgotten. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story. Here, you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. Now let the desert return again in your mind. Above ground, the sky has turned deeper. The stars are beginning to show, tiny points, steady and unhurried. If you were standing out there, you might feel the coolness gather along your arms. You might hear the sand's faint whisper as it shifts under your shoes. And far away, in another part of this vast landscape, there is Giza. Not loud, not crowded, not overwhelmed by daytime. At night, the pyramids become something else. Not tourist sites, not symbols, just shapes in the dark, large, simple, enduring. If you look at Giza from afar as a gentle triangle of light, what would you like to let go of to lighten your heart? You do not have to answer out loud. Just notice what rises in you. An old worry, a tight thought, a small burden you've carried longer than you meant to. Let it be there for a moment, and then imagine setting it down in the sand as softly as placing a stone on the ground. No slam, no drama, just release. Back in Saqqara, below the earth, we continue. Our light moves along carved walls. The passage narrows, then widens. And in one chamber, there is something that feels almost impossible. A coffin with no obvious opening. Cartonnage, layers of linen and papyrus hardened with adhesive, shaped and painted, strong like a shell, beautiful like a promise. And yet, no lid, no seam, no door. How did the person get inside? For decades, that question lingered like a moth circling a lamp, quiet, persistent, never frantic. A mystery that did not demand an answer. It simply waited for one. If you are the kind of person whose mind likes a gentle puzzle, you can let that question sit with you now, like a smooth pebble in your palm. How did they do it? Not with force, not with haste, but with patience and moisture and hands that knew how to soften what was rigid and then make it whole again. We will come to the full beauty of that method later when you are even more relaxed and when your thoughts are slower and softer. For now, let the mystery remain a closed door in the mind, safe, calm, unthreatening, because the night is long and the library of sand has many rooms. In the next part of our journey, we will drift farther back, past the noise of modern days, past the busy mind's habit of counting and measuring, into the lived texture of an ancient evening, the smell of incense like warm amber, the touch of linen like cool water, the slow rhythm of a 70-day patience, measured not in stress but in devotion. But tonight, for now, we end where we began, with the golden rule. We do not touch, we simply look with kindness. And as you rest there, listening, you can feel your own breath becoming part of the quiet corridor, slow, steady, safe. The desert above continues to cool. The stars above continue to hold their places. And somewhere beneath the sand, a name waits, still wrapped, still guarded, still sleeping, until the right moment to be remembered gently again. Some stories begin with a trumpet, Ours begins with a shadow. If you are still awake enough to imagine, picture the desert again. Not the blazing version you see in postcards, but the evening desert, the gentler one. The one that looks as though it is exhaling after a long day. The sun has slid low and softened at the edges. Light becomes honeyed. Distance becomes kind. Above the sand, a thin breeze moves like a hand, smoothing a sheet. Below the sand, the world changes in a way that feels almost personal, like stepping from a crowded hallway into a quiet room where no one asks anything of you. And so we return to the entrance we found together, a simple opening, a square of darkness, a patient descent. As we go down, let your breathing slow a little more, just a fraction. You don't have to force it. You don't have to do anything perfectly, just notice. Inhale, and the chest lifts. Exhale, and the body settles. Down here, the air is cooler. It has the clean, dry scent of stone that has never known rain. Our light is soft, it does not glare. It pools gently on the ground and then fades into darkness, the way moonlight does when it touches the edge of a doorway. I like to imagine that I am not an intruder here, but a night caretaker, someone who walks the corridors only to make sure everything remains undisturbed, someone who checks that the dust is still resting where it chose to rest, someone who never rushes. If that feels comforting, you can walk with me in that role too. We move slowly, as if the corridor itself is part of a sleeping house. The walls around us are close enough to feel present, but not tight enough to feel trapped. Yet there is a steadiness to the space, an old steadiness that does not care about deadlines, notifications, or the bright urgency of the modern day. There is only stone, there is only time, there is only quiet. And yet, even in a place like this, the past is not cold. The past is not a museum label, it is a texture, it is a scent, it is a memory of hands. Above us, thousands of years ago, there were evenings just like this, golden, wind softened, calm. People came home with sand in the hems of their clothing and dust on their sandals. A pot simmered somewhere. Someone folded linen and set it aside. A child leaned against a doorway and watched the sky darken, feeling that gentle, sleepy shift in the air. It can be soothing in the middle of a busy modern life to remember that human evenings have always existed. Long before the emails and the highways, there were evenings where the most important sounds were bread crust cracking, water being poured, and a voice speaking low so the night could keep its peace. So let's step softly into one of those evenings. Imagine a small home built with mud brick, earth mixed with straw, shaped, dried, stacked. The walls are warm in color, like toasted wheat. Inside, the air is cooler than outside. The light is not electric. It is firelight, a small, steady flame that makes everything feel close and gentle. On a low surface, there is bread. Not the neat, sliced kind you might buy today, but loaves shaped by hand, dense, nourishing, made from grain that has traveled through many stages, harvested, dried, ground, mixed, baked. There might be beans too, simple, steady food, perhaps a bit of fish from the river, salted and dried, not luxurious, just reliable. If you listen closely with your imagination, you might hear the quiet sounds of living. Someone rinsing a bowl, someone stirring, someone setting down a jar. A soft conversation, not argument, not drama, just the small warmth of voices that know each other. And through the doorway, the desert is visible as a widening hush. In ancient Egypt, life was tied to cycles that were bigger than any one person. The sun rose, traveled, and returned to the underworld of night. The Nile swelled and withdrew. Seeds were planted, crops grew. Time moved in circles, not in straight lines. That circular rhythm can feel calming, even now, because it offers a simple promise. What ends also returns, what fades also comes back. Night does not mean failure, it means rest. And winter does not mean loss, it means preparation. And in that worldview, the idea of a long sleep, what we call death, was also part of a cycle. Not a catastrophe, not a sudden drama, but a transition that deserved care, dignity, and tenderness. So in the same way a person might prepare a home for a long season, sweeping the floor, mending cloth, placing a few beloved objects where they belong, people in ancient Egypt prepared for the journey beyond life. Not in panic, not in haste, but with an almost astonishing patience. If you let that patience settle over you now, it can feel like a balm. In a world that demands speed, there is something deeply comforting about a culture that valued carefulness, that believed that the best things, peace, remembrance, continuity, could be built slowly. In Saqqara, that carefulness left traces everywhere. Or in the calm geometry of tomb walls, in the painted scenes of daily life, fields, boats, offerings, in the quiet logic of chambers meant to keep a person safe from heat, animals, and time's roughness, and in the craftspeople themselves, the linen makers, the resin workers, the scribes who could make a name last longer than a heartbeat. Tonight, we are not here to list dates and dynasties like a textbook. We are here to feel the slow river of time moving beneath the surface of everything. So let the centuries pull back like a tide. We drift gently toward the Old Kingdom around 4,300 years ago. The phrase 4,000 years can feel huge, almost unreal. But down here in the cool corridor, it feels less like a number and more like a distance traveled by candlelight. In those days, but the Step Pyramid at Saqqara was new enough to feel like a miracle. Stone, stacked in layers, rising from the desert like a calm, deliberate thought. It was not only an architectural leap, it was a statement about continuity, that a human life could be honored with something that would outlast it. But the pyramid is only one part of the story. Near it, there were people living ordinary lives, people who woke to the smell of dust and bread, people who worked with their hands, people who had worries that were simple and familiar, the heat, the water, the health of a child, the hope that food would last. If you have ever felt tired in your modern life, tired in a way that feels like the soul wants to sit down, you might find comfort in remembering this. You are not the first human to carry fatigue. Oh, you are not the first to long for a quiet corner. You are not the first to hope that somewhere you will be held gently. That is why these stories matter at night, because they remind you that you belong to a long chain of evenings. Now let us move back into our corridor again. The stone underfoot is smooth in places, worn by time and by careful footsteps. Our light catches dust motes drifting slowly, like tiny planets in their own private universe. We pass a wall with faint marks, carvings perhaps, or the remnants of painted plaster. The details are not sharp now, they are softened by centuries, the way a well-loved photograph becomes soft at the corners. And then we come to a doorway into a chamber. This is not a room of spectacle, it is a room of work, of ritual, of patience. In your mind, you can picture the tools laid out neatly, and not in chaos, bowls, cloth, jars with dark, aromatic substances. It smells of resin, warm and wood-like. It smells faintly of oil. And there is linen, folded, stacked, ready. There's also natron, a natural salt, pale and dry, used not to shock the senses with science, but to do something simple and respectful, to help the body become stable, to keep it from collapsing into ruin. The goal was not beauty for its own sake. The goal was preservation, so the person could remain recognizable, held, protected. And this is where a number often appears in the story, a number that sounds almost like a slow bell, about 70 days. 70 days, an entire season of waiting and tending. Try to feel what that means, not as information, but as rhythm. Day after day, the same careful steps, the same quiet attention, and the same sense that nothing important should be rushed. If you have been rushing all week or all year, let your nervous system hear this. There were people who believed that the most sacred work was slow. And even if you don't share their beliefs, you can borrow their pace tonight. Imagine the linen being wrapped, not hurriedly, but with a steady, almost meditative repetition. Layer after layer, smoothing each fold, tucking each edge. The motion itself becomes calming, the way knitting can be calming, or the way washing dishes can be calming when the mind is finally quiet enough to let it be simple. Tension rises in the shoulders of modern life, but here, in this imagined chamber, tension dissolves into routine. And somewhere in the middle of that routine, a tenderness appears, because the body being wrapped is not an object. It is someone, someone who once stood under the same sun you stand under now, even if the world around them was different. Someone who once listened to the sound of water, once tasted bread, once felt tired at the end of a day. If you let that thought soften you, it might open a small door in your own heart, one that says, I can be gentle too, with others, with myself. Now there is something else in these spaces, something that makes the night feel even more like a dream. There are moments when the corridor turns and our light catches a thin line of brightness from above, traveling through an unseen crack. It is not a beam like a spotlight. It is a fragile thread of light, as delicate as a strand of hair. That thread makes the darkness feel less heavy. It makes the chamber feel sheltered, not scary. Like the dark side of a pillow, cool and safe. And because this is a sleep story, because we are moving toward calm rather than toward suspense, I want you to know nothing will jump out. Nothing will shout. The mysteries here are gentle. They are puzzles that sit quietly on a table, waiting for you to approach when you're ready. So let's approach one now. You remember the coffin I mentioned, the one with no obvious opening, no lid you can lift, no seam that says, here is the door. For a long time, that coffin rested like that, complete and closed, as though it had been formed around its occupant the way a shell forms around something tender. How did they do it? The question is not a scream, it is a whisper. And that whisper is the small mum mong to mo, the seed of curiosity that will carry us forward. But we won't answer it all at once. We won't flood the mind with explanation. We will walk toward the answer the way you walk towards sleep. Gradually, gently, without force. Before we go on, I want to offer you another small pause. If your jaw is clenched, let it loosen. If your tongue is pressed to the roof of your mouth, let it rest. If your hands are tight, let your fingers uncurl. You don't have to hold yourself up right now. You can be held by the story. And in the quiet of this chamber, with linen folded like waves and resin scenting the air, we will take one more step into the soft discovery of the night. In the next part, we will follow a shaded road through the desert, a road lined with trees, a surprising ribbon of green and shadow that feels like relief. We will let that shade cool the mind, and then, when the mind is cool and slow, we will return to the untouchable wrapping, see unto the modern way of seeing without disturbing. Light that looks but does not bruise. For now, let the question remain where it is, a closed coffin, a patient mystery, a gentle door with no handle. And as you listen, you may feel your thoughts becoming heavier, softer, like sand settling after a breeze. The library of sand remains quiet. The night caretaker remains calm. And the story continues, unhurried, into deeper peace. There is a kind of relief that arrives the moment you step into shade. Not dramatic relief, nothing like a door slamming behind you or a crowd suddenly cheering. Just a softer kind, the body noticing that it can cool down, the skin loosening its hold, the breath becoming a little less guarded. So before we return to the deep chambers, let's walk above ground for a while, slowly under the evening sky. Imagine Saqqara at the hour when the sun is still present, but no longer demanding. The desert is pale and wide, yet the light is gentle enough to look at. The air has that faint, dry sweetness that comes right before night, when heat begins to release its grip. And then, almost like a secret kept in plain sight, we find a road where trees have been planted, an unexpected ribbon of green and shadow. In a landscape that can feel endless and bare, shade is not just comfort. Shade is hospitality. You can picture the trees as date palms, their fronds making a soft, repetitive sound when the breeze passes through. You can picture tamarisk, light and feathery, or sycamore fig, broad-leafed and steady. Even if you don't know the exact species, you can feel the effect. The sunlight breaks into pieces, scattered like gold dust across the ground. The air under the canopy is cooler, quieter, like stepping into a private corridor made not of stone but of leaves. If you've been carrying the weight of the day, let this shaded road carry some of it for you. Each step is unhurried, each breath is quieter, each thought can move slower as if it has permission. This is the kind of transition scene the mind loves at night, an in-between space, not the busy world, not the deep tomb, a gentle middle where the nervous system can settle. And as we walk here together, you can remember something simple. Ancient Egypt was never only desert, it was also river, it was also gardens, it was also shade. People built with what they had, and what they had was a landscape of contrasts, bright sun and cool shadow, dry sand and living water, open sky and quiet chambers. Their world taught them daily that balance is possible. In the distance, you can see low walls of mud brick again, warm and rough, their surfaces catching the last light. In your imagination, you might see someone passing by with a basket, the weave pressing into their palm. You might hear a donkey's soft footfalls, not loud, not frantic. You might smell dates, sweet and dark, and something resinous, incense carried on the air, not as perfume for vanity, but as part of daily life and ritual. This is the pace we borrow tonight, not the pace of a headline, not the pace of a scrolling feed, the pace of walking under trees. And now, when you feel ready, we return to the entrance. We descend again, and the coolness meets us like a familiar blanket. The corridor is quiet, and our small light behaves like a respectful guest. It never floods the room, it never demands attention, it simply reveals what is already there. We pass through familiar turns until we reach a chamber where a figure lies wrapped. If you imagined it before, imagine it again, but slightly closer, still not touching, still keeping that golden rule. The linen is layered with extraordinary patience. Some wrappings look almost like they were braided, folded into patterns that repeat with a calming predictability. It is the kind of repetition that can lull the mind the way waves do, one after another, almost the same and yet subtly different in texture and light. Sometimes in tombs there are small glints, bits of gilding, or a mask's faint sheen, or paint that still catches the light in a quiet way. But even when gold is present, the feeling is not treasure. The feeling is care. Because what you are really seeing is an intention, Someone wanted this person to be safe. And that brings us to the untouchable decision. There are moments when the most loving act is restraint. Archaeologists and conservators, people trained to notice how fragile time can be, have learned that not every story should be unwrapped. Linen becomes brittle. Resin can bond layers together like a firm handshake that has lasted too long. Paint can flake. And when the layers are disturbed, they can never be returned to their exact original position, no matter how skilled the hands. So instead of pulling the past open, modern eyes learn to look through it. Imagine a quiet room in a museum or a research facility, not noisy, not crowded. A controlled, steady space where temperature and humidity are kept gentle and consistent. The mummy is placed carefully, supported so no part of it strains. And then, rather than hands, light becomes the instrument. X-rays first, perhaps. Ghostly images where bone appears like pale architecture. Then CT scanning, a series of thin slices of view, collected one after another and assembled into a three-dimensional understanding. It is strange in a beautiful way. The modern world can be impatient, yet here it offers its best patience. It offers technology not as an invasion, but as a quieter kind of listening. You might think of it as a conversation across time. The past says, "I am here, but I am delicate." The present answers, "Then I will look softly." And as those images appear, something tender happens again. The person beneath the linen becomes more real, but in a way that does not disturb their rest. You can see the curve of a skull, the gentle slope of a spine. You can see that this body was not mythical, it was human. It had weight, it had shape, it once carried breath. Sometimes the scans reveal small surprises, not shocking ones, not gruesome ones, just quiet details, an amulet tucked near the chest perhaps, a bead, a small object placed with intention, like someone putting a note in a pocket. And even if we do not name each object tonight, we can feel what they mean. Someone wanted to send comfort forward. Someone wanted to say, "You are not alone on this journey." If that idea touches you, let it touch you gently. Because in your own life, you have also carried small comforts. Maybe a photograph in a wallet, a worn sweatshirt, a keychain that feels like a talisman, a message saved on your phone that you reread when the night is heavy. Humans do this. Across millennia, we tuck little reminders close to the heart. Here, the reminder was linen and resin and quiet ritual. Now, while we stand in this chamber of imagination, let's return for a moment to the question of names. In ancient Egypt, the name Ren was not a casual sound. It was a form of continuity. To speak a name was to keep a person present in the world. To erase a name was to do a terrible kind of harm, to cut the thread that connected them to remembrance. That is why you see names carved, painted, repeated. That is why there is such tenderness around writing. A scribe's hand was not only recording facts, it was protecting presence. And in the soft light of our chamber, you can feel the gentle sadness hidden inside that belief. The fear of being forgotten. It is the same fear that sometimes visits modern people in the dark. Not always consciously, not as a dramatic thought. Sometimes it is just a feeling, a quiet loneliness, a sense that the world is loud and busy and might not notice you. If you have ever felt that, even for a moment, then you understand why the Egyptians treated remembrance as sacred, and you can also let the story soothe that fear, because tonight you are being noticed by the story, by the quiet corner of the night that holds you. You are here, you are listening, and that is enough. Now let's take another slow breath together. Inhale gently, as if drawing cool air from the stone corridor. Exhale slowly, as if releasing heat into the sand above. Good. there is one more gentle thread we will follow in this part, a thread that leads from looking to understanding to a soft kind of how. We return to that strange coffin again, the one that seems to have no opening. In your mind's eye, see it resting in stillness. Its surface may be painted. It may be shaped in a way that suggests a human form. It is made from layered material, cartonnage, linen and papyrus, hardened, painted, sometimes lacquered, strong enough to protect, delicate enough to require respect, and yet no lid. For a long time, people could only guess. Maybe it was made in pieces and joined invisibly. Maybe there was a seam hidden beneath decoration. Maybe the passage of time had sealed something that was once obvious. But modern looking, seeing without touching, began to offer a different kind of clue. Imaging could reveal where layers overlapped. It could show where a cut might have been made and then closed again. It could expose, gently, the story of craft. And what the craft suggests is not violence. It is skill. The makers understood moisture. They understood pliability. They understood that what is rigid can become flexible if treated patiently, and that what becomes flexible can be shaped and then made firm again. It is the kind of knowledge that does not come from a single lesson. It comes from years of hands working with the same materials, learning how they respond, learning when to wait. There is something quietly comforting about that, because it means the mystery is not supernatural. It is human. It is the mystery of craftsmanship, how people, when they care enough, can solve problems with calm ingenuity. And perhaps if you let that settle in you, it can become a small reflection for your own life. Sometimes the things that feel impossible are not solved by force. They are solved by patience, by moisture, by softening, by giving time to the process, not tonight, not all at once, but slowly, the way sleep arrives. In the next part, we will go closer to the hands themselves. We will imagine the careful method, how a rigid shell could be opened in the quietest way, how it could be slipped around a body like a gentle garment, and how the seam could be closed again, stitched, tied, and made whole, almost like a corset laced at the back. But we will approach that image with care. We will keep it soft, we will keep it human. For now, let the shaded road return one more time in your mind. Trees moving slightly in the breeze, light breaking into small gold pieces, your footsteps unhurried. And then as you drift back underground, the corridor cool and calm, you can feel the story doing what it is meant to do, guiding you from the busy world into the deeper quiet. If you are getting sleepy, that is perfect. If you are still awake, that is also perfect. Either way, you are here, in the library of sand where nothing is rushed and every secret is opened with the gentlest kind of attention. We do not touch, we simply look, and we let the night do the rest. There are mysteries that feel sharp, like a sudden shout in a quiet room. And then there are mysteries that feel soft, mysteries that wait politely like a folded letter on a table. The coffin with no obvious opening belongs to that second kind. When you picture it, you might imagine a smooth shell shaped around the form of a person. Not metal, not stone, but something made from layers, linen and papyrus, pressed and strengthened, then painted and sealed. A material that begins as cloth and plant fiber and ends as a protective skin. It is called cartonnage, and in the lamplight of a tomb, it can look surprisingly gentle. It carries color the way a quiet wall carries sunset, muted, warm, patient. Sometimes it is painted with a calm face, eyes closed or half-lidded, as if even the image understands it is meant to sleep. For a long time, people wondered how the person was placed inside. No lid, no hinge, no clear seam. And yet, the ancient world was full of hands that knew how to do delicate things slowly, hands that knew how to soften, shape, and restore, hands that treated materials like living companions rather than stubborn objects. Tonight, we are going to approach the answer the way we approach sleep, without force. So, settle a little deeper where you are. Let your back sink into whatever supports it. If your breathing has been a little shallow, invite it, just gently, to widen. Inhale as if you were drawing in cool air from a shaded corridor. And exhale as if you were letting out warmth, letting out weight. Good. Now, imagine we are back in the workroom beneath Saqqara, the room where the air is calm and the light is low. There are jars along a shelf. Some hold oils, and some hold resins, dark and fragrant. There is linen folded in stacks, and the scent of it is clean, almost like sunlight dried into fabric. On a nearby surface, there is the shell itself, the cartonnage casing, already shaped, already painted. Beside it, a bowl of water stands quietly, reflecting the lamp's glow. Not a dramatic bowl, just water, something simple, because simple things were often part of ancient skill. Moisture changes what is stiff. A dry piece of fiber can be stubborn. But when it is introduced to gentle humidity, when it is allowed to drink in a little softness, it becomes willing, it bends, it yields, it can be guided without breaking. The people who made cartonnage knew this, and it is easy to imagine how. They worked with linen their whole lives. They watched it tighten when dry, loosen when damp, and relax under a warm hand. They understood the language of cloth. So in your mind, picture the casing being warmed slightly by the presence of moisture, not soaked, not drowned, just invited to soften. The outer surface remains calm, but the fibers within begin to relax, as if unclenching. And then comes the quietest part of the method, not a loud cut, not a violent opening, but a careful incision along the back, where eyes are less likely to linger, where beauty can remain uninterrupted, a line drawn by a steady hand. The casing opens just enough, like the back of a garment being unfastened, like a seam being loosened, and then the person, already wrapped in linen, already prepared with devotion, is guided in. This is the moment where it helps to think of clothing. A coat is not forced onto a body, it is eased on. A robe is not wrestled, it is draped. A corset, in old-fashioned terms, is not slammed closed, it is laced gradually, so the shape is held without harm. So imagine the cartonnage casing softened, opened at the back, then slipped around the wrapped form like a protective garment. And once the person is inside, the casing is closed again, the seam is brought together, the edges meet. Then comes the lacing, linen cords or ties drawn through small openings, pulled gently and knotted with care. A closure that is firm enough to protect, but not harsh. The back becomes a quiet ladder of ties, like the spine of a book, like the laces of a shoe, like the familiar pattern of pull, pause, settle. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it, a soft tug, a whisper of fiber tightening, a small knot being pressed into place. There is something deeply calming about that image, isn't there? Because it is not about conquest, it is about craft. It is about a human being taking the time to make something safe. And it turns a mystery into something even more intimate, a trace of hands, a trace of patience, a trace of care. If you ever feel overwhelmed by the pace of modern life, you might let this be a gentle lesson. Some of the most impressive things in history were not done loudly. They were done quietly by people who repeated small actions until those actions became protection. And the making of cartonnage itself was like that too, layer on layer, pressed and dried, smoothed and shaped. Imagine strips of linen laid down carefully, as steady as breaths. Imagine papyrus fibers that once grew tall along riverbanks, now softened, pressed, given a second life as shelter. Imagine a paste, simple, sticky, patient, binding everything together the way a good memory binds a family, gently but firmly enough to hold. After the casing was formed, it could be painted. Not in a hurried, showy way, but with the calm focus of someone who has painted many faces, many symbols, many quiet lines meant to last. Pigments mixed in small bowls, a brush touched the surface. Color dried slowly, and in that slow drying, the casing became not only protection, but presence, an outer identity offered to time. Even if you are not an artist, you can feel what that means. To give attention to small details, to make a surface serene, to make something that says, "This matters," without needing anyone to clap. Remember the number that rings softly in this story. 70 days. You don't need to turn it into a schedule. You don't need to analyze it, just feel it. 70 days means there was time for repetition, time for checking, time for drying and wrapping and waiting, time for quiet conversations, time for the family to come and go, perhaps bringing offerings, bread, beer, flowers, small gestures that said, "You mattered." And the materials of preservation, natron, oils, resin, were not merely ingredients. They were part of an atmosphere. Natron, pale and dry, carried the scent of minerals and desert. Resin smelled like warm wood, like amber, like the memory of trees. Linen carried the smell of sun and river air. If you imagine those scents blending, the room becomes something like a sanctuary. Not in a dramatic, towering sense, but in a small human sense, a space where actions are measured and gentle. And because we are telling this as a sleep story, we keep our focus on what is soothing, the calm rhythm, the steadiness, the respect. Even the modern way of learning about these methods has grown more respectful over time. Rather than prying open every seam, many researchers now choose to let light do the work, to let scanning reveal where fibers overlap, to let images show the story of craft in thin, patient layers. There is a quiet kindness in that choice, because it means the past can remain intact. It means the person can remain wrapped. It means the beauty of the original work can continue sleeping in its original shape. When you think about it, that is a rare thing. Knowledge gained without tearing. If you have been in situations where gaining something required losing something, losing time, losing peace, and losing parts of yourself, then the idea of learning without tearing might feel especially comforting. You can carry that idea with you tonight. Inhale and imagine learning that does not bruise. Exhale and imagine curiosity that feels like a warm lamp, not a bright interrogation. Now let the story drift back to the coffin again, now that we understand the seam. The no opening was not truly no opening. It was simply a closure designed to be invisible from the front, designed to preserve a calm face, designed to keep the impression of wholeness. And that too is a kind of philosophy, a belief that the surface should remain serene, that the resting form should appear undisturbed, that the person's sleep should look like sleep. If your own life has felt messy lately, too many open tabs, and too many unfinished things, there may be something soothing in the idea of a well-closed seam, a neat tying off, a gentle completion, not perfection, just closure. Sometimes the mind itself needs that same treatment, not force, not pressure, just a little softening, like warm water on tense hands, like steam loosening a tight chest, like dimming lights so the nervous system stops bracing for what's next. So if you notice yourself still holding on, imagine you are being unlaced gently at the back. No one watching, no one judging. just the quiet release of knots you didn't realize you tied. As we leave this chamber, we walk slowly, letting our small lights slide across the corridor walls. The air remains cool. The silence remains friendly. Above us, the desert continues its nightly cooling, and the stars continue to hold their places. And somewhere deeper in this library of sand, another kind of secret waits, not a secret of how, but a secret of who. A name, perhaps? A sign? A trace that says, this person was not just a body, this person was a story. In the next part, we will follow that softer question, how names were protected, how being remembered was treated like a form of warmth, and how the simplest carved mark could carry the weight of a human life across thousands of quiet nights. For now, let the image of the seam stay with you. A casing opened at the back. A body eased in like a treasured garment. Linen ties pulled gently, then knotted. A promise closed, so the past could sleep without being disturbed. And if your eyes are growing heavy, you are doing exactly what this story was made for. Slowly, softly, safely, and the library of sand remains open, but never loud. The corridors remain cool, but never cold, and you remain here, carried by the calm as the night deepens. If you listen long enough to a quiet place, you begin to notice what it is made of. Not only stone, and not only air, but small decisions, where to place a lamp, how softly to step, when to pause, so the silence can remain unbroken. In the corridors beneath Saqqara, the greatest decision is always the same one. To be careful, to be gentle, to let the past keep its sleep. And because we have been speaking tonight about shells and seams, about cartonnage, opened at the back, and laced closed like a promise, it feels right to turn now to something even more delicate than linen, a name. In ancient Egypt, a name was not a casual label that could be swapped or forgotten. A name was a kind of warmth. A name was a thread of presence. They believed that as long as a person's name was spoken, remembered, written, or carried in the minds of the living, and that person did not vanish completely. They continued softly, like a lamp left burning in a distant room. The word they used was Ren. And tonight, in this library of sand, we are going to follow that word the way you might follow a scent in the dark. Slowly, with trust, letting it lead you without urgency. So before we go deeper, take one more slow breath. Inhale, as if you are drawing in a little cool air from the stone passage. Exhale, as if you are letting go of a tight thought you no longer need to hold. Good. Now imagine we have reached a chamber where the walls are not blank. In the soft light, you can see carvings, lines cut into stone by patient hands. Sometimes they are deep and clear, sometimes they are faint, softened by time. But even faint lines can carry meaning. The Egyptians filled their tombs with scenes that look, at first glance, like quiet paintings of daily life. People carrying baskets, boats sliding through water, fields being tended, offerings being arranged. But beneath those scenes, there is always the deeper intention. To keep something from being lost, to keep something from fading, to keep the person's story anchored to the world, and so the name appears. Sometimes in a neat, vertical line, sometimes framed like a small doorway, sometimes repeated because repetition itself was a kind of protection, the same way you might repeat a comforting phrase to yourself at night. It's okay, you're safe, you can rest. The Egyptians repeated the name in stone. If your mind is tired, you do not need to understand every symbol. You do not need to translate. And just feel what it means that someone took the time to carve letters into rock so a sound could survive. A sound, a breath shape, a human identity made durable. We often think of ancient monuments as if they were built only for kings, only for power, only for immortality in the grand sense. But down here in the quieter tombs, you can sense the smaller, more intimate desire beneath it all. Do not forget me, not in a dramatic plea, not in a desperate shout, just do not let my name go cold. And if you have lived long enough to know how nights can feel, how the world can seem indifferent when you are alone with your thoughts, then you already understand why that mattered. Because there is a gentle fear that lives in many human hearts, not the fear of the end itself, but the fear of disappearing without a trace, but the fear of being a life that passed through the world and was never truly held in memory. Tonight, let's meet that fear softly without wrestling it. Let's meet it the way this story meets everything, with warmth. Imagine a scribe in the Old Kingdom, sitting in the shade at the edge of a work site. The day is bright, but the scribe's corner is cool. A palette lies beside him, small blocks of pigment, a reed brush, a little water. He is not a warrior. He is not a shouting leader. His power is quieter. He writes, and every line he writes is an act of keeping. The brush touches a surface, papyrus, wood, plaster, leaving marks that will become words. And inside those words, a person's name can remain alive for generations. If you have ever written someone's name in a birthday card or typed it into a message late at night, you have done a small version of this. You have kept a thread unbroken. You have said, "You matter enough for me to make your name present." In ancient Egypt, this was not only affectionate, it was sacred, and it makes me think of you listening right now. Maybe you are listening in a house that is quiet after everyone else has gone to sleep. Maybe you are listening in an apartment where the city hums faintly through the walls. Maybe you are listening with one earbud in, the other ear resting against a pillow. Wherever you are, your life has its own name. Even if no one is saying it aloud in this moment, it exists. It belongs to you. And tonight, as you drift with this story, I want to offer you a gentle truth. You are not invisible here. In this quiet corner of the night, you are part of the circle of listeners. And you are part of the soft community that rests together, even if you have never met the others. You are part of the long chain of human evenings. Now let's let the corridor take us somewhere else, somewhere that feels like an echo chamber for names. Picture a journey south along the river, toward a place called Abydos. We will not travel there like a tour bus. We will travel there like a dream. The Nile is dark and calm. The boat moves slowly, the water parting without fuss. The air is cooler now, and the stars above the river look steadier than the thoughts in a busy mind. On the shore, the landscape changes, more rock, more pale ground, more quiet. Abydos was a sacred place, especially connected to the god Osiris, a figure of death and renewal. But tonight we do not need the full myth, or we only need the feeling behind it, that there was a place where people came to be close to continuity, to be close to the idea that life does not simply drop into nothing, to be close to the idea that remembrance can be a kind of rebirth. In Abydos, people left stelae, stone slabs, inscribed with prayers, names, small wishes. They could not all be buried there, but they could leave a piece of themselves there, a mark, a written sound, a name placed into the keeping of a sacred landscape. If you picture those stelae at night, they do not look grand, they look quiet, a field of stones, each one carrying someone's effort to remain connected. And as we move through that imagined field, we can let our own modern lives come into view, not to compare, not to judge, but to connect, because you, too, leave traces. You leave traces in the people who have known you. You leave traces in small routines, how you make coffee, how you fold a blanket, how you drive home, how you choose a song when you feel tired. You leave traces in the way you have survived hard weeks and still kept going. Sometimes you may not feel impressive, but the world is made of these traces, and it is okay to want your life to be remembered gently. It is okay to want someone, somewhere, to say your name with warmth. Now, back in the tomb corridor, we return to the carved walls again. Because names were not only for the dead, names were also for the living, to remind them that they were part of a story bigger than themselves. The Egyptians believed that chaos was always nearby: dryness, storms, hunger, uncertainty. But they also believed in order, the steady rhythm of sunrise, the dependable cycle of the river, the careful repetition of ritual. Writing a name was part of that order. It was a way of saying, I belong in the pattern. And if you have ever felt like your modern life is chaos, too fast, too many demands, too little quiet, then you might find comfort in this ancient habit. What if your life also belongs in a pattern? What if you do not need to fight so hard tonight? What if you can simply rest inside the rhythm of breathing? Inhale, exhale, like the river rising, the river falling. Inhale, and the chest lifts. Exhale, and the body settles. Now, there is a tender detail I love about the idea of Ren. It suggests that the greatest monuments are not always stone pyramids. Sometimes the greatest monument is a person who remembers you, a friend who mentions you kindly, a child who carries your habits forward, a partner who still says your name softly when the room is dark. Those are monuments too. And unlike stone, they are warm. If you feel loneliness tonight, let the story hold that loneliness without trying to fix it. Let it be like a small animal curled in your hands, noticed, cared for, not scolded. Because the remedy is not excitement. The remedy is gentleness, and the ancients understood that. Their way of preserving a name was not only about eternity, it was about comfort. It was about saying you mattered enough to be kept. Now, imagine that in the chamber where the untouchable mummy rests, there is no label with the person's voice. There is only linen, pattern, silence. And yet, even without a readable name, you can feel the person's presence. And this is another soft discovery. Sometimes a human being can be remembered even when the letters are lost. The body's careful wrapping is a kind of language. It says, someone loved you enough to take time. Someone believed your sleep deserved protection. That is remembrance too. And in your own life, even when you feel unseen, there may be hidden forms of remembrance around you. People who think of you quietly, people who wish you well without announcing it, people who carry your kindness with them. If it feels good, let that thought land, not as an argument, not as a positive thinking demand, just as a gentle possibility. Now, we are nearing the end of this part of the night, and I want to leave you with a small image, one that ties names and seams together. Picture the back of that cartonnage casing again, laced closed. Each knot is small, each knot is simple, but together they hold the whole. A name can be like that, a small sound, a small set of letters, but together they hold a person in the world. And as the corridor dims in your mind, as your thoughts slow, you can let your own name feel like something you do not have to protect by effort tonight. You do not have to earn rest. You do not have to prove you deserve to be remembered. You can simply be. And in that being, in this listening, you are already part of something gentle and human and old as the stars. In the next part, we will let the night carry us back toward the desert sky. We will look again at the pyramids, not as loud symbols, but as quiet geometry. We will feel the limestone's imagined smoothness, the soft sound of sand used like polish. The way a monumental thing can be built from countless small motions. And then very gently, we will let that motion become your own breath, steady, repetitive, safe. until the story begins to feel less like words and more like drifting. For now, stay here in the cool corridor a little longer. Let your mind rest against the stone. Let the idea of Wren, of the name that stays warm, settle into you like a blanket. And if sleep is approaching, let it approach without being questioned, softly, quietly, patiently, like history itself. There is a moment in the desert when the temperature drops enough that you can feel it on your skin like a quiet answer. The day has done its work, the sun has moved on, and the land begins to cool, slowly, as if it is remembering how to rest. So tonight, after walking through names and seams, after drifting through the belief that a human life can be kept warm by remembrance, we return once more to the open sky. Not to be dazzled by it, just to be soothed by its vastness. Imagine we have stepped out of the underground corridor and onto the sand again. The horizon is low and wide, and the colors of the world are muted now. Beige, charcoal, deep blue, and the faint silver of starlight. In the far distance, Giza waits. The pyramids are not close enough to feel overwhelming. From this distance, they are shapes, quiet triangles set against the night. And if you look at them this way, they do not feel like monuments built for pride. They feel like calm geometry, like something the earth decided to keep. At night, the pyramids lose the harshness that daytime can give them. They become softer, less like tourist icons and more like sleeping hills made of stone. If your mind tends to race, this is a helpful image. Something enormous that does not move. Something that holds its place without effort. Sometimes the greatest calm comes from being near what does not hurry. Now I want to invite you into a gentle time shift, one that feels like drifting backward on a slow tide. Picture Giza not as it is now, weathered and matte, but as it might have looked when it was new. When the outer casing stones, fine white limestone, fitted so precisely that the pyramid's surface looked smooth, almost like a frozen slope of pale light. In the sun, it would have gleamed. At twilight, it would have held the last light like a quiet mirror. But tonight, we are not here for glare. We imagine it under a gentle evening sky when the limestone would have looked less dazzling and more like a soft lantern far away, a calm triangle of pale glow. And because this is a sleep story, we focus on the work behind that glow, not the politics, not the power struggles, not the loud interpretations. We focus on hands, because every enormous thing is built from small motions repeated. I want you to imagine a craftsman, not a mythic figure, not a grand hero, just a person with tired shoulders and practiced hands. And he is standing with a piece of limestone. The stone is cool even in warm air, holding the quiet chill of mineral. In his hand there is sand, fine, pale grains. In another hand, a cloth or a tool. The motion is simple: rub, smooth, polish. Sand is abrasive, but in this setting it becomes gentle because the hand is gentle and the goal is carefulness. The stone's surface slowly changes under repeated attention. A roughness becomes less rough, an edge becomes cleaner, a plane becomes smoother. It is a rhythm: rub, pause, rub, pause. If you listen closely in your mind, you might hear it, the soft whisper of sand against limestone, not a harsh scrape, more like the sound of dry fabric moving, like the hush of a broom on a quiet floor. This is one of the most calming sounds the imagination can create, the sound of steady work. With no urgency, pause, and with each repetition, the craftsman is not only shaping stone, he is shaping time, because the pyramid is not built in a day. It is built in thousands of days in countless small motions. And something about that can soothe a modern mind, because modern life often asks you, to believe that everything should happen quickly, that progress must be dramatic, that success must be loud. But ancient stone teaches a different lesson. What lasts is often made slowly. What endures is often made quietly. If you let that idea settle into you, it can loosen the pressure in your chest. You do not have to fix everything tonight. You do not have to solve your whole life before morning. You can be like the craftsman. You can do one small motion, one breath, one soft release. Now imagine the scene expanding a little. And there are other workers too, not in a chaotic swarm, but in a steady flow. Some carry stone, some measure, some place blocks. The work is organized like a calm river, each person a part of the current. The desert wind moves gently, lifting sand in small swirls that settle quickly. The sky above is vast, and the stars are beginning to show, one by one, as if the night is opening a book. And somewhere in this enormous scene, there is a quiet truth. Despite the scale, the feeling is not frantic. It is methodical, it is repetitive, it is almost meditative. Stone placed, stone aligned, stone smoothed, breath taken, breath released, breath taken again. If you are sleepy, you may notice that your body responds to this kind of rhythm. Your eyelids become heavier. Your hands become softer. Your thoughts begin to slow, as if they are sinking gently into warm sand. That is perfect. Now let's bring in one more detail, one that ties back to our earlier golden rule. Do not touch. In the modern world, we sometimes want to hold history like an object, to grab it and claim it, but the most respectful relationship is different. It is the relationship of witnessing. And the pyramids are like that. They are not something you take. They are something you stand near and let be. In the same way, your own thoughts tonight do not need to be grabbed. You do not need to wrestle them. You can simply witness them, notice them, then let them pass like wind over sand. If a worry appears, you can say quietly, "I see you," and then you let it move on. If a memory appears, you can say quietly, "Hello," and then you let it settle where it wants. This is the art of nighttime calm, looking without clinging, like the golden rule of the tomb. Now, in your imagination, the craftsman continues polishing limestone, and the sound becomes steadier. Rub, pause, rub, pause. The sand grains are tiny. Each grain is insignificant alone, but together, over time, they change the surface. This is another lesson you can borrow. Small things matter. Small things accumulate. A gentle habit, like breathing slowly, can smooth the roughness of a stressful day. A kind thought, like forgiving yourself for being tired, can polish a sharp edge inside the heart. A quiet story, like this one, can be a small grain of sand repeating its soft motion until you drift. And now let us return once more to the image you offered earlier. Giza from afar as a gentle triangle of light. If you see it that way, what would you like to let go of tonight to lighten your heart? Again, you do not have to answer out loud. You can simply imagine placing that burden down beside the craftsman's tools, beside the limestone, beside the whispering sand. A burden set down in a place that does not judge it, a place that simply holds it. Because the desert has held countless things, footsteps, names, unfinished stories, the breath of people who lived long ago. It can hold your burden too for one night. Now the night deepens, the desert cools further, and the pyramids in the distance become even quieter, almost like they are turning into silhouettes of sleep. In the next part, we will drift back beneath the sand again, returning to Saqqara's cool corridors. We will let the 70-day patience become a soft clock for the mind, when we will linger with the scent of resin, the feel of linen, and the calm decision to learn without tearing. And then, as the story continues. We will begin to lower our language, lower our pace, lower our light, until it feels like the whole world is dimming gently around you. For now, stay here with the limestone light. Listen to the polishing sound. Rub. Pause. Rub. Pause. Let your breath follow it. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Pause. And if sleep is already at the edge of your mind, let it come closer. Let it settle in your body like a cool sheet. Let it smooth your thoughts the way sand smooths stone. Quietly, patiently, as though you have all the time in the world. Because tonight, in the library of sand, you do. When we step back beneath the sand, the world above becomes a distant idea. The desert's wide sky, the far silhouettes of pyramids, even the imagined sound of palms moving in the breeze, those things remain but softened, as if they are now behind a curtain. Down here, the air is cooler. The corridor holds its steady quiet, and our light is small and respectful, never rushing ahead of us. If it feels good, let your breathing match the space. Inhale, slowly, as if the cool stone is lending you calm. Exhale, gently, as if you were setting down a thought you no longer need tonight. Good. There is an old number that floats through these chambers like a soft bell. 70 days. When people speak of mummification, they often speak quickly, like it is a list, like it is a procedure. But in the night, in a story made for rest, the 70 days becomes something else. It becomes a pace. It becomes a small calendar made of patience. Imagine an hourglass, not dramatic, not urgent. The sand moves the way sand always moves, grain by grain, without anxiety. The day does not demand the next day to hurry. Each day arrives, does its quiet work, and fades. 70 days means there is time for routine, time for careful checks, time for the body to become stable, time for families to come and go, carrying offerings that are simple and human: bread, beer, flowers, a handful of dates that still smell like the sun. And in the workroom, the chamber of linen and resin, every action is paced the same way, not like a machine, more like a lullaby. If you imagine the room, notice the textures first. The linen is folded into stacks, pale and clean. When you touch linen in your mind, and it feels cool and smooth at first, then warmer where the hand rests, like fabric that remembers skin. The air carries the faint sweetness of oils and a deeper wood-like warmth from resin. There may be incense too, soft, not smoky, drifting like a thin ribbon of scent that makes the whole space feel sheltered. On a shelf sits natron, a mineral salt gathered from dry places. It looks simple, powdery, pale, quiet, and yet it holds a kind of desert wisdom. Dryness can preserve. The same sun that bakes the ground can, with patience, keep things from falling apart too quickly. In our story tonight, natron is not a chemistry lesson. It is a symbol of steadiness. It is the way the ancient world said, "We will do what we can carefully with what the earth provides." And then there is the wrapping, layer after layer, laid down like waves. Sometimes I think the most soothing part of this entire history is not the monuments above ground, but the repetition below it. The hands that wrapped linen did not do it once and finish. They did it slowly, steadily, over and over, smoothing each strip, tucking each edge, aligning the cloth so it held without squeezing. If you have ever folded laundry late at night when the world is quiet, you may know that feeling. The mind stops sprinting, the hands become calm. The small task becomes a kind of meditation. Now imagine those hands, long ago, doing something similar but with a deeper intention, to keep a person safe. There is tenderness in that, and tenderness can be contagious. If your own inner voice has been sharp lately, if you have pushed yourself too hard, spoken to yourself too harshly, let this chamber offer you another tone, a tone that says, slow is allowed, 70 days, measured like breath. Inhale, a day arrives. Exhale, a day leaves. Inhale, another day. Exhale, another day. And somewhere inside that rhythm, the nervous system begins to trust. Now there is a place where the modern world meets this ancient pace in a surprisingly gentle way. It happens not with a crowbar, not with an unwrapping, but with a scanner. Imagine the untouchable mummy again, the one wrapped so intricately that the linen itself feels like art. We have stood near it already, keeping our golden rule, do not touch. In the past, curiosity might have demanded the wrappings be removed, but now a different kind of curiosity has learned humility. It has learned to take what it can without tearing. A CT scanner is not romantic, and yet, in this context, it becomes something almost tender. A ring of quiet light, collecting information in thin slices, assembling a picture the way a careful person assembles a quilt. Look, and do not disturb. In the scanning room, everything is controlled and calm. The temperature is steady, the supports are gentle, the mummy is laid down as if being offered rest all over again, and then the machine begins its slow work. There is no suddenness, no loud reveal, just a gradual emergence of hidden shapes. Bone like pale architecture, the curve of a rib, the slope of a skull, the small human truth of a spine. What the scan gives us is not drama, it gives us intimacy. It reminds us that beneath the linen there is a person who once carried breath the way you carry breath now. A person who once felt the day's heat and the night's coolness. And a person who once had a name, Wren, even if we cannot speak it with certainty tonight. And sometimes the scan reveals a quiet surprise, not a shocking object, not something gruesome, something small and intentional. An amulet tucked near the chest, perhaps. A bead. A small charm placed close to where the heart once beat. These objects were not placed for show. They were placed like you might place a note in a pocket, a key on a familiar hook, a photograph under a pillow. Little reassurances, little companions. If you want, you can borrow their method for a moment. Imagine taking one worry, just one, and laying it down on a table like a small object. You don't have to label it. You don't have to judge it. You simply notice it. Then in your mind, you place a strip of linen over it, smooth it gently, another strip, and another. On layer by layer, the worry becomes quieter, not because it is erased, but because it is held. A little resin, warm, protective, seals the edges. Not trapping, just preserving. And finally, you set the wrapped bundle aside, the way you might set aside a book you love, trusting you can return to it another day. Tonight, you are allowed to stop unwrapping your thoughts. Tonight, you can let them rest. If you have ever carried something small for comfort, a coin, a stone from a beach, a letter folded into a wallet, you already understand this instinct. We keep tiny things near us when we want to feel held. Ancient people did it too. And that is one of the gentlest bridges between then and now. The human desire to be accompanied. Now let your mind drift back to the corridor again, to keep the mood slow. We walk with our small lamp, and the walls are cool. Dust rests where it has chosen to rest. The air feels like a shaded room, and the silence is friendly. As we pass a doorway, you can imagine the faintest glimmer of paint on plaster, colors softened by time, like a sunset seen through thin cloth. There is a scene of offerings, bread, jars, flowers. There is a scene of water, boats, reeds, a calm riverline. There is a scene of work, hands, tools, woven baskets. And there is always, somewhere, the quiet insistence of order. The Egyptians called it mat, sense of balance, truth, steadiness. We don't need to analyze it. We can simply feel its presence as a soothing idea that life can be arranged gently, that chaos does not have to win. Sometimes at night, your mind becomes a little chaotic on its own. Thoughts gather like sand in the wind, or the body remembers old tensions, the heart replays conversations. If that is happening for you tonight, let that be a soft answer. You do not have to solve every thought. You can simply return to balance, one breath at a time. Inhale and let the shoulders drop. Exhale and let the jaw loosen. Inhale and let the forehead smooth. Exhale and let the eyes grow heavy. 70 days measured like breath. Now, our gentle suspense returns, not the kind that wakes you, but the kind that keeps the story glowing faintly at the edge of the mind. Because once you can see without touching, you begin to ask softer questions. Who was this person? Not in the sense of celebrity or power, in the sense of human life. Were they someone who walked the market at dusk, someone who knew the smell of dates and dust, and someone who listened for the river's return? The scan can tell us shapes and hints, but it cannot tell us laughter. It cannot tell us the sound of a voice speaking a name in the shade. And that is where the story becomes even more tender, the recognition that some things remain private to time. Not everything is for us to know, and that is okay. In a world that demands constant access and constant explanation, it can be restful to accept mystery as a form of peace. Some doors stay closed, some seams stay tied, some names remain warm in silence. In the next part of our journey, we will follow a faint trail of clues, not to force an identity, but to imagine a life gently. We will return to the market scents, the quiet homes, the shaded roads, and we will let one small object, one amulet, one bead, or one careful placement become a doorway into reflection. For now, let the corridor dim a little more, let the lamp lower, let the edges of the chamber soften. And if sleep is approaching, let it approach the way history approaches us in this story, respectfully, slowly, without tearing. We do not touch, we simply look and we breathe, inhale, exhale. The library of sand stays open, but it stays kind. And somewhere beneath its layers a small secret rests, waiting to be noticed with the gentlest eyes. Sometimes the clearest clue to a life is not a grand monument. It is something small, something that could fit in the curve of a palm. Down here, beneath Saqqara's sand, we have learned how to look without waking what should remain asleep. We have learned the golden rule again and again: do not touch. And because we do not touch, we begin to notice the subtler things, the quiet choices, the tender placements, the human instincts that outlast names. So tonight, let us follow one of those subtler things. Not a crown, not a treasure, a small amulet resting close to where the heart once beat. If you feel your body still holding tension, let this be the moment you soften a little more. Let your shoulders fall, let your hands become loose, and if you like, take a slow breath in and out, as though your mind is stepping into cool shade. Good. Well, now imagine the scanning room again, the modern circle of light that turns patiently around a wrapped form. The machine does not hurry, it collects thin slices of view like pages of a quiet book. And inside those pages there is a tiny shape, darker than linen, denser than cloth, a bead perhaps, or a carved charm, or a small piece of faience glazed like river water frozen into blue-green. It sits near the chest, close to the ribs, close to the place where warmth used to rise and fall. In ancient Egypt, people often carried protective symbols, not as superstition in the sensational sense, but as reassurance. A gentle, "I am guarded," a soft, I will be okay. It is the same reason some people today touch a necklace when they feel anxious, or keep a smooth stone in a pocket, or wear a ring that reminds them of someone kind. All humans like to carry comfort. So instead of asking, "What was this person's status?" we ask something quieter. What did they need to feel safe? Maybe this amulet was chosen because it reminded them of renewal, a small scarab, a beetle-shaped charm that evoked the sun's daily return. The idea is simple. Light disappears, and then it comes back. Night arrives, and then morning follows, a cycle that teaches the heart not to panic when darkness settles in. Or perhaps it was an eye symbol, watchful, calm, a reminder that protection can be gentle. Not an alarm, not a threat, just a steady presence, like a porch light left on for someone coming home late. We do not need to decide which it was. Tonight, it is enough to feel the intention. Someone placed something near the heart. Someone wanted this person to be accompanied. And the moment we understand that, the chamber becomes warmer, not in temperature, but in feeling. The past stops being distant. It becomes familiar because you know what it is to want reassurance. You know what it is to reach for a small comfort when the mind is too loud. Now let the story drift into imagination, not wild, not dramatic, but tender. Imagine this person alive, long ago, not a king, not a headliner, just someone walking through an evening that smells like dust and bread. They step through a narrow street lined with mud brick walls, the color of warmed earth. The day has been bright, but now the light is soft. A breeze moves through cloth hung to dry. Somewhere a jar is set down with a low ceramic thump. The market is quiet at this hour, not empty, but gentle. A seller lifts dates from a basket, another folds linen, as smoothing it with a hand that knows repetition. There is the faint scent of incense, resin warmed by air, drifting without urgency. Our person pauses at a stall. Maybe they buy a small bundle of herbs. Maybe they buy a piece of bread for the walk home. Maybe they simply stop to listen to the evening settle. And inside their clothing, tucked into a cord or hanging from a string, there is the amulet. It touches their skin lightly as they move. It is cool at first, then warms. A small, steady companion. If you have ever worn something meaningful, something that sits at your collarbone or rests in your pocket, you know that feeling. It is not loud, it is not magical in a movie way, it is simply grounding. Now let the story move to the river. The Nile is never far from the Egyptian imagination, even in the desert. And the river is a memory in the air, a promise that green can exist, that water returns, that life can be renewed. Imagine our person standing near the riverbank at dusk. The sky's last light is mirrored in the water. Reeds make a soft rustling sound. A boat passes, slow and steady, the oar dipping like a quiet metronome. Dip, lift, dip, lift. That rhythm is soothing, and so is the thought behind it. Someone long ago also watched the water move and felt their mind become quieter. If you are listening in a modern room, the river can still reach you through imagination. Let it. Let the water's slow motion slow your thoughts. Let your breathing find the same rhythm. Inhale, exhale. Now back in the tomb, the amulet waits near the heart, and we return to the idea of Ren, the name that stays warm. It is possible we do not know this person's name. It may have faded from labels, from records, from clear inscriptions. But the amulet is a kind of name too, in its own silent language. It says, someone cared. Sometimes that is the only truth we need at night. Because many people in the modern world carry a quiet fear that their efforts will disappear unnoticed, that they will spend their days working, caring, surviving, and no one will remember the softness they tried to bring into the world. If you have ever felt that fear, let this ancient chamber answer you gently. Even when names fade, care leaves traces. A folded cloth, a knot tied carefully, a charm placed close to the heart. In the language of history, these are small. In the language of the human soul, they are enormous. Now, let's step into a quieter kind of discovery, one that feels like opening a window rather than a door. Imagine the hands that placed the amulet. Perhaps it was a family member, someone older with steady fingers, someone younger, nervous but determined. Or a priest, calm and practiced, murmuring words meant to soothe. The hand lifts the charm and holds it for a moment, as if giving it warmth before letting it go. Then the hand places it, not tossed, not dropped, placed, and then linen comes again, layer after layer, until the amulet is hidden, but not lost. It is close, wrapped into the story, like a small secret kept for comfort. If you're still awake enough to notice your own body, you may feel how the idea of wrapping itself is soothing. It suggests containment, it suggests safety, it suggests that nothing has to spill out tonight. So let your thoughts be wrapped. If a regret appears, cover it gently with linen. If a worry appears, cover it gently with linen. If a lonely feeling appears, cover it gently with linen. Until it becomes quieter, not because it is denied, but because it is held. Now imagine the corridor outside the chamber. Our lamp moves slowly. The walls are cool, the air is steady. Somewhere above, the desert continues to cool under stars. And here, in this quiet, I want to offer you a soft question, one that belongs to the same family as the amulet's purpose. What small thing helps you feel safe? It could be a sound, a song, a cup of tea, a familiar blanket, a friend's message saved on your phone. You don't have to answer out loud. Just let an image come if it wants to. Let your nervous system remember what comfort feels like. Because comfort is not a luxury. It is a human need. And once you remember comfort, the path to sleep becomes smoother. Before we leave this chamber, let's linger with the material itself, because material can be a kind of poetry. If the amulet was faience, Egypt's small miracle of glaze, it might have been made from crushed quartz and minerals shaped with damp hands, then fired until the surface turned glossy. Blue-green was a beloved color because it carried the feeling of water and new growth. In a land where green could be rare, that color was like hope you could wear. Imagine the making of it as another calm rhythm. A worker scoops pale powder into a bowl, adds water, stirs slowly. The paste becomes pliable, it is pressed into a mold or rolled between fingers, smoothed into a tiny form. Then it rests. And then it is placed into heat. Not violent heat, but steady heat. The way bread bakes steadily when someone cares enough to wait. When it comes out, it has a sheen like a small piece of river light. And then perhaps it is threaded onto a cord. Perhaps it is given as a gift, quiet, practical, full of meaning without needing a speech. The person wears it under their clothing, close to the warmth of skin, where it becomes part of daily motion, walking, bending, laughing softly, sighing at the end of a day. If you live a modern life, you may carry your own amulets without calling them that. A keychain you recognize by touch in the dark. A worn wallet that has traveled through years with you. A ring you twist absent-mindedly when your mind is busy. A hoodie that feels like a safe room you can put on. These objects do not solve everything. They simply remind the body you are here and you can be okay. That is what the amulet near the heart is whispering across time. In the next part, we will let the story drift even further toward gentleness. we will return to the pyramids and the desert night, but with softer edges. We will lower our language like lowering a lamp. We will revisit the golden rule one last time, and then we will begin the final descent into the sleep outro, where everything becomes slower, quieter, and more like breath than words. For now, stay with the amulet near the heart. A small shape. A small reassurance. A tiny companion that traveled across thousands of nights to reach you here in this moment. And if your eyes are heavy, let them be heavy. You are allowed to rest. The library of sand will keep watch, quietly, kindly, all night long. Somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, the mind begins to prefer one thing above all: steadiness. Not answers, not excitement, just steadiness. So tonight, we keep walking at the same gentle pace, one slow step, one calm breath, through the cool corridors beneath Saqqara, where the air feels like a shaded room that never argues with you. Our small lamp moves in a soft circle on the stone. It does not search, it does not interrogate, it simply accompanies us, like a friend who doesn't need you to talk. If you'd like, take a breath that is a little longer than usual. Inhale slowly. Exhale even more slowly. And notice how the body accepts that pace, like sand accepting a footprint. Now imagine we come to a doorway you haven't noticed before. Not because it was hidden, but because it was easy to overlook, one of those quiet openings the mind doesn't register until it is ready. Inside, the chamber is smaller than the grand halls you might picture when you think of ancient tombs. It feels human-scaled, intimate. Like a room where someone once worked in silence. On the ground, the sand is thin and fine. Along one wall, there are faint marks, scratches, shallow carvings, maybe a line or two of faded pigment. Nothing that shouts, nothing that demands to be decoded tonight. This is the kind of room I like to call a ledger room, not because it is filled with books, but because it is filled with the spirit of record keeping, the quiet belief that life leaves traces worth keeping, even when the world forgets to applaud them. In ancient Egypt, a ledger was not always paper. Sometimes it was stone. Sometimes it was the repetition of a name. Sometimes it was a small object placed near the heart. Sometimes it was simply a careful seam tied at the back saying, "This person matters enough to be kept whole." And in this room, I want you to meet the person I have been quietly imagining all night, the night caretaker. Not a king, not a priest of thunderous ceremony, just someone who moves through quiet spaces with respect, making sure the lamps are low and the doors are closed again, gently. You can picture the caretaker as a temple scribe who has finished the day's duties and now walks the corridors after dark. Or as a modern museum guard, if that feels more familiar. Someone who knows the building's breathing, who notices when the air shifts, who understands that stillness is a kind of protection. In my mind, the caretaker carries a small ledger, not a heavy book, a modest one. Papyrus sheets bound together, or a wooden tablet, something that can be held in one hand. And on it, the caretaker writes names, not for fame, not for ranking, but for warmth. Ren, the name that stays warm. If the idea of a ledger feels too formal, think of it as a list of candles. Each name written down is like lighting a small flame. Not a spotlight, a candle. And perhaps that is why you can feel calmer just by imagining it, because your nervous system recognizes what it means to be accounted for, to be included, to be remembered. There is a moment in many people's nights, especially busy people, especially those who carry the weight of responsibility, when the mind asks a quiet question: did I matter today? Not in a dramatic way, not in a prove your worth way, just in a tired human way. Did anything I did leave a trace of kindness? And if the answer feels blurry, if the day was full of tasks and noise, the question can sting. So let the night caretaker's ledger answer you gently. A trace is not always visible immediately. Sometimes it is the way you kept your voice calm. Sometimes it is the way you didn't lash out. Sometimes it is the way you held yourself together when you were tired. Sometimes it is the way you kept going. These are small things, but small things accumulate, the way sand accumulates into dunes. In the caretaker's ledger, they count. Now imagine the caretaker pauses beside a resting place, the kind we've been visiting all night. A wrapped figure, linen layers laid like waves, a cartonnage casing laced closed at the back, the seam hidden so the front can remain serene. If the caretaker does not touch, they only stand nearby, and the lamp's glow softens the edges of the room. The caretaker takes a breath and then writes one line. Not necessarily the person's full name, maybe only a title, maybe only a symbol, maybe only a careful mark that says, "I was here and I witnessed you." In ancient Egypt, witnessing mattered, being seen mattered, being spoken of mattered. And that idea can hold you too, because even if your day felt invisible, if no one thanked you, if no one noticed how much effort it took to get through, your effort still happened. Your breath still rose and fell. Your heart still did its quiet work. That is worthy of witness. If you like, place one hand on your chest for a moment, just to feel the warmth there. You don't have to do it physically, you can imagine it. And feel that the heart is still working, still steady, still here. Now let the story drift into a softer discovery, one that isn't a surprise, but a gentle shift in perspective. What if the untouchable mummy, the one wrapped with such intricate patience, was not a person of great public importance? What if the artistry of the wrapping does not always mean royal status, but human devotion? Sometimes the most exquisite care is given not because the world is watching, but because love is watching, a family, a friend, a community. In the quiet of their grief, they did not make noise. They made order, they made protection, they made a seam that could be tied like a promise. That thought can be healing, especially if your modern life has trained you to believe you must be extraordinary to deserve gentleness. You do not. Care is not a prize. Our care is a human language. And if someone long ago could be wrapped with devotion in a corridor beneath sand, then you tonight can be held in devotion by your own kindness toward yourself. Let your jaw soften again. Let your shoulders drop again. Let your breath lengthen again. Inhale, exhale. Before the caretaker closes the ledger, let's linger on the act of writing, because writing is a kind of slow breathing. Imagine the caretaker kneeling beside a low stone shelf. A small palette rests there, dark pigment, a little water, a reed brush cut to a fine angle. The brush is dipped once. Then, without hurry, it touches the surface and draws a line, then another. A curve, a careful corner. Each mark is made with the same calm intention as wrapping linen. Place, smooth, a line. You might try a tiny version of that now, it's without moving at all. In your mind, imagine your own name, just the familiar letters, the way it looks when you write it at the end of a note. Picture those letters appearing slowly, one by one, as if a gentle hand is writing them in the air above your pillow. You do not need to perform, you do not need to solve anything. You can simply let the name exist quietly, like a candle that doesn't flicker. If a worry tries to interrupt, let the letters keep going anyway. One stroke, then the next. Your mind can return to the simple sequence, this line, this curve, this pause. In that small order, the nervous system often relaxes. It stops scanning the dark for problems and begins to trust the quiet again. And tonight, that quiet is enough. Now imagine the caretaker sets the brush down and closes the ledger with a soft hush. then bows their head, just slightly, toward the resting places, not in fear, in respect. Well, this bow is another kind of lesson. You do not have to stand tall all the time. You are allowed to soften. Inhale as if receiving permission. Exhale as if letting your body accept it. Now, in the ledger room, the caretaker turns a page. The sound is soft, papyrus shifting like dry leaves, or wood scraping lightly, barely audible. The caretaker writes another line, and as they write, you can imagine the names as little steps leading through darkness, one name, then another, like stones across a shallow river. If you feel alone tonight, let this be a gentle community moment. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. You have already heard those words. But repetition is part of sleep. Repetition is how the mind learns safety. So we repeat. We repeat the golden rule, do not touch. We repeat the breath, inhale, exhale. We repeat the reassurance, you are not alone here. Now, let the caretaker walk with us out of the ledger room and into a corridor that slopes slightly upward, as if guiding us back toward air that smells faintly of night. The stone underfoot is cool. The lamp stays low. The corridor curves gently, and with each curve, the darkness feels less like absence and more like shelter. Somewhere above, the desert is cooling further, and the stars are steady. In the next part of our journey, we will follow the caretaker up to the surface for a moment to feel the sky and the wind again, and then we will return underground for the beginning of our long, gentle descent into the final quiet. We will lower the lamp even more. We will slow the sentences even more. We will let the story become like the sound of sand polishing stone, steady, repetitive, kind. For now, stay with the ledger, a small book, a warm name, a quiet witness, and if your eyes are heavy, let them be heavy. The night caretaker will keep watch, softly, respectfully, all the way until sleep. There is a quiet kind of wisdom that comes late at night, when the world is finally dim and your body begins to remember what rest feels like. It is the wisdom of choosing softness over certainty, of choosing calm over control, of letting some doors remain closed, not out of fear, but out of respect. So tonight, as we walk with our small lamp through the cool corridors beneath Saqqara, I want to bring you to a door that we will not open, not because it hides something frightening, not because there is danger on the other side, but because there is peace in not needing to know everything before you can sleep. If you are still holding tension behind your eyes, in your shoulders, in the small muscles of your hands, let this be a moment of release. Inhale, slowly. Exhale, gently. And feel the body settle, as if it is sinking into a warm, familiar cushion. Our footsteps are quiet. The stone beneath them is cool and steady. The air is dry and clean, carrying the faintest memory of resin and linen, as if those scents have become part of the walls. We pass chambers we have visited before. The room of folded cloth, the place where the seam was laced closed like a promise. The imagined shelf where jars once waited in patient rows. We pass the ledger room too, where the night caretaker wrote names the way someone lights candles, one at a time, without hurry, without spectacle. Ren, the name that stays warm. And now, deeper in the corridor, there is a small doorway. It is not grand. It does not call attention to itself. It is simply there, as quiet as an unspoken thought. You might notice the edge of it first, stone cut cleanly, and then softened by centuries. You might notice the way the dust rests along the threshold, undisturbed, like snow that has not been stepped on. You might notice how the darkness inside is thicker, as if the room has been holding its breath for a long time. This is the door we leave gently closed. If you like, imagine that the caretaker approaches first. The lamp is lowered. The light does not spill inside. The caretaker does not reach for a latch. There is no rattling handle, no sudden movement. Only a pause, only respect. And in that pause, something in you may relax. Because modern life is full of opening. Opening emails, opening news, opening messages, opening problems the mind insists it must solve immediately. Night asks for something different. Night asks for closing the laptop, closing the day, closing the loop of worry, at least for a few hours, so your body can repair itself in silence. So we stand beside the closed door, and we let it remain closed. If your mind wants to ask, what is behind it? You can let the question float by like a leaf on water. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to drag it back onto shore. You can simply watch it drift. Inhale, exhale. Now let's widen the scene a little. Above us, the desert has cooled. The sky is deeper now, a rich, dark blue that makes the stars look steady and kind. The Step Pyramid is a shape in the distance, not loud, not demanding. It simply holds its place in the night, like a thought that does not hurry. And beyond, farther still, Giza waits as a soft silhouette, triangles that seem to belong to the horizon itself. You remember the question from earlier, the one that invites the heart to lighten. If you look at Giza from afar as a gentle triangle of light, what would you like to let go of tonight? You do not have to answer out loud. Just let your body answer. If there is a tightness in your chest, imagine it loosening by a single thread. If there is a weight behind your forehead, imagine it sliding down, away, like sand settling. If there is a thought you have been repeating, what if, what if, what if? Imagine that thought becoming quieter, as if it is stepping farther down a hallway. We are not trying to erase anything. We are simply giving your nervous system a place to rest. The ancient world understood this in its own language. They called it balance, mayat, an order that keeps the world from tipping too far into chaos. We do not need to lecture it into your mind. We only borrow its feeling, the sense that things can be arranged gently, that the night can hold you without demanding performance. So, in our story, the closed door becomes a symbol of that balance. You can care about something and still let it rest. You can love someone and still stop replaying every conversation. You can carry responsibility and still sleep. The door stays closed and the world does not collapse. Now imagine a small ritual, one that is as simple as folding linen. Picture a thought that has been bothering you, just one, not the whole list. Choose the smallest one, the one that repeats most often. Maybe it is about work. Maybe it is about a relationship. Maybe it is about the future, that wide, uncertain space that sometimes looks too bright in the mind's eye. Hold that thought in your imagination like a small object. But notice its shape, notice its weight. Now, without judgment, walk with it to the closed door. You do not throw it inside, you do not slam it away. You simply set it down beside the threshold, as if placing a stone on the ground. And then, with a gentle motion, you slide it into the quiet behind the door, the way a caretaker slides a book back onto a shelf. You close the door again, not locked forever, just closed for the night. If your mind tries to reopen it immediately, you can smile softly inside without effort and say, later. Later is a kind word. Later is a soft boundary. Later is a promise that you do not have to carry everything in this exact moment. Inhale, exhale. Now, as we step away from the door, the corridor feels even calmer. The lamp seems softer. The air seems smoother. It is as if the act of closing has lowered the whole temperature of the mind. We walk on. At the next turn, the caretaker pauses beside a wall where faint marks remain. Not every mark is readable, not every name is clear. Some letters have softened, some pigment has faded, some stories have returned to silence. And that is another gentle truth. Even in a culture that loved remembrance, not everything survived, yet the world is still beautiful. The desert is still patient. The stars are still steady. So perhaps the goal is not perfect preservation. Perhaps the goal is gentle presence, being here, now, and letting that be enough. Tonight, you do not have to be immortal. You only have to be comfortable. And comfort is built the same way the pyramids were built, with small, repeated actions. A breath, a release, a softening. Inhale, exhale. If you are still awake enough to notice your senses, you might imagine the feel of cool stone nearby. You might imagine the faint scent of resin, warm like wood. You might imagine linen folded somewhere in a dark room, waiting in quiet stacks. These images are not meant to wake you, they are meant to cradle you. And now a final soft discovery in this part. The realization that the past does not ask us to hold it tightly. The past can be honored with distance, it can be honored with restraint, it can be honored by letting it sleep. That is why we do not touch, that is why we look with kindness. That is why we leave a door closed when opening it would only satisfy the restless mind, not the resting heart. In your own life, there may be a door like that, an argument you keep replaying, a regret you keep reopening, a fear you keep examining from every angle. Tonight, you can let it stay closed, not because it doesn't matter, but because you matter too. Your body needs its 70 days of patience in miniature, hours of sleep, nights of healing, the slow restoration that happens when you stop forcing your mind to work in the dark. So we continue walking, and the corridor gradually begins to slope upward again, almost imperceptibly. The air changes slightly. It carries the faintest hint of night sky. When we reach the entrance, we do not burst into brightness. We simply step into open air that is cool and soft. The desert is quiet. The sky is thick with stars. If you look far away, Giza is still there. Triangles of darkness, maybe faint triangles of pale light, holding their shape against the night. And in that quiet moment under the endless sky, something feels different, not because the world has changed, but because you have softened inside it. You have practiced closing. You have practiced letting go. You have practiced the golden rule of calm. Listen for the smallest sounds, the wind brushing sand, a distant animal settling your own breath. Notice how none of these sounds demand anything from you. They simply exist. Let your heart do the same. Let your thoughts loosen their grip, as if fingers opening one by one. In this wide night, you are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to be quiet. You are allowed to sleep for now without apology. In the next part, we will begin our final descent towards sleep. We will return to the corridors one last time, and the lamp will grow dimmer. The sentences will grow slower. And the story will become less like a journey and more like a steady, repeating sound. Sand polishing limestone, breath polishing thought, until you are drifting. For now, stay with the closed door. A door left gently closed is not a loss, it is a kindness. And tonight, kindness is the only thing you need. The night has a way of teaching the same lesson again and again, until your body finally believes it. You do not have to hold everything at once. You can set things down, you can close a door, you can let the world continue without your constant attention. So now, as we begin the last long easing towards sleep, we return, one final time, to the cool corridors beneath Saqqara. Our lamp is smaller now, not because the story is ending, but because the mind does not need bright light when it is ready to rest. A bright light would only make the eyes work harder. A bright light would only sharpen the edges of thought. But a dim light, soft and low, turns the corridor into something kinder. If you can, let your face soften, the muscles around the eyes loosen, the space between the eyebrows and smooth, the jaw unclench just slightly, as if you finally set a heavy bag down. Inhale, gently. Exhale, slowly. We step down into the earth again, and the temperature changes like a whispered welcome. Above us, the desert is wide and star-filled, and far away the quiet triangles of Giza hold their shape against the night. But down here there is only the steady coolness of stone and the calm patience of time. Our footsteps are careful. Not because we are afraid, because we are respectful. We pass familiar turns and everything feels softer now, as if the corridor has learned our pace and matched it. The air is still. Dust rests where it has chosen to rest. No sound rushes at you. Nothing demands a response. And as we walk, the images from earlier drift by like slow-moving clouds. A seam laced closed at the back, quiet knots that hold a promise, or a small amulet near the heart, tiny comfort wrapped into linen, a ledger of names written not for fame, but for warmth. Ren, the name that stays warm. It is strange how much comfort can live inside a single idea, but the longer you sit with it, the more you can feel why the ancient Egyptians treated remembrance like something sacred. Because being remembered is a kind of gentle shelter. And even if the world forgets to notice you on a busy day, a story like this can remind you your presence matters. Tonight you are not just passing through the dark alone. You are listening, you are breathing, you are here. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Let those words be repetitive in a soothing way, the way waves are repetitive, the way a heartbeat is repetitive. Repetition is not boredom in the night. Repetition is safety. Inhale, exhale. Now imagine we come to a small chamber, one that feels more like a quiet bedroom than a dramatic tomb. The ceiling is low. The corners are softened by shadow. Our lamp touches one wall, then another, and the light seems to slow down as it moves. In this chamber, there is no new revelation, no sudden twist, only a deepening of what you already know, that the past is fragile, that curiosity can be gentle, that not every door needs to open. The closed door returns in your mind, the one we left gently shut. And you might notice how peaceful it feels to leave it that way, because you can do the same with your thoughts tonight. You can let one worry sit behind a closed door until morning. You can let one regret rest without being replayed. You can let one unfinished question remain unfinished, not because it doesn't matter, because you matter too. Inhale slowly. Exhale even more slowly. Now the story brings you back, softly, to the surface for a moment, just as a dream sometimes floats up and shows you a glimpse of sky. Imagine the desert night again. The air is cool, the stars are steady. Somewhere a faint breeze moves across sand like a hand smoothing fabric. And in the distance, beyond the quiet silhouette of Step Pyramid of Djoser, the world is sleeping in pieces, homes, streets, small rooms with dark windows. Long ago, people slept like this too, not with electric light, not with phones glowing, but with the same human body, the same need for rest, the same quiet hope that tomorrow would arrive gently. Somewhere near the river, near the slow, dark ribbon of the Nile River, someone listened to water and felt their thoughts soften. The oar dipped and lifted. Dip. lift, dip, lift, a rhythm older than worry, and then like a tide returning, we drift back down into the corridor again, into the coolness, into the dim lamplight. Because the place we are going now is not a new chamber. It is the place where sleep begins. Not suddenly, gradually. The story's sentences begin to lengthen, the spaces between images become wider, the lamp lowers again until it feels as if it is illuminating only the next step and nothing more. This is a kind way to travel, only the next step, only the next breath. Inhale, exhale. And now very gently, let's return to the craftsman's motion, sand polishing limestone, because that motion is also a lullaby. I'll rub, pause, rub, pause. In your body, it becomes inhale, pause, exhale, pause. If your mind tries to start thinking about tomorrow, you can return to this, just the motion, just the breath, just the pause. Now there is one more reflection the corridor offers before we step fully into the sleep outro. It is about time. We often imagine time as something that steals from us, something that takes days away, takes youth away, takes people away. But in these corridors, time also protects. Time keeps things quiet. Time seals the air. Time covers harsh edges with softness. Time turns loud events into silent memory. And tonight, you are allowed to let time protect you too, at least for a few hours. You can rest and let the night do what it has always done. Lower the temperature of the mind, soften the sharp thoughts, slow the heartbeat into something steadier. If you want, imagine your whole day, everything you did, everything you carried, being wrapped like linen. Not to trap it, to hold it. Layer by layer, the day is folded away safely, so you don't have to keep gripping it in your hands. A gentle strip of linen over work, a gentle strip of linen over worry, a gentle strip of linen over a conversation that still echoes. And finally, the day is quiet. Now the corridor becomes even darker around the edges. Our lamp is little more than a warm glow. We are close to the end of the journey, not an ending like a door slamming, but an ending like a candle being lowered until it becomes a soft ember. If your eyes are heavy, let them be heavy. If your thoughts are drifting, let them drift. This story is not here to keep you awake. It is here to accompany you until you no longer need company. In the next and final part, we will move into the full sleep outro, very slow, very warm, very steady. We will return to the golden rule one last time. We will bring you back to the quiet triangles of Giza as distant light. And we will end with a gentle invitation, soft community, soft gratitude, a calm reminder that you are welcome here whenever night feels long. For now, let the lamp remain dim. Let the corridor remain cool. Let your breath remain slow. Inhale, exhale. And if sleep is already close enough to touch, remember, we do not touch. We simply look, and we let the night do the rest. Now the night is deep enough that even thoughts begin to yawn. The lamp is very low. The corridor around us has softened into shadow, and the shadow does not feel empty. It feels like a blanket, a cool, steady blanket laid over the edges of the mind, telling your nervous system without words, you can stop working now. So if you are still awake, let your body hear that message gently. Unclench the jaw. Let the tongue rest. Let the shoulders sink. Let the hands become loose and open. Inhale, slowly. Exhale, slowly. Good. Tonight, we have walked through a library made of sand. We have moved through cool corridors beneath Saqqara, where linen rests in layers and time holds its silence with care. We have stood near the untouchable wrapping, and we have practiced the golden rule, do not touch. And we have followed the quiet mystery of a coffin with no obvious opening, And we have learned that the answer was not force, but patience, softening, opening at the back, and lacing a seam closed like a promise. We have listened for the warmth of Ren, the name that stays present when it is remembered with gentleness. And we have found near the heart a small amulet, tiny reassurance, wrapped into linen like a private comfort. Now we do not need to travel farther. Now we simply settle. Imagine we are stepping up from the corridor into open desert air one last time. The surface is cool underfoot. The sand has lost its daytime heat. The sky above is wide and dark, filled with stars that do not flicker with anxiety. They hold their places, steady and quiet. Far away, you can see Giza. From this distance, the pyramids are not loud. They are not demanding. They are calm triangles of darkness, perhaps with the faintest suggestion of pale light along an edge, like a distant lantern. If you look at them like that, gentle triangles of light, let yourself feel how little you need to carry right now. And if any last weight remains in your chest, remember the question we asked earlier, the one that is meant to soften the heart without pressure. If you look at Giza from afar as a gentle triangle of light, what would you like to let go of to lighten your heart? You do not have to answer. You can simply let go. Let go the way sand lets go of heat when night arrives. Let go the way a hand opens when it no longer needs to hold. Inhale, exhale. Now in your mind, return once more to that calming sound, the sound of sand polishing limestone. Rub, pause, rub, pause. Let your breathing follow it. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. If your mind tries to pull you toward tomorrow, return to the motion. Rub, pause, rub, pause. If your mind tries to replay today, return to the motion. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. This is enough. Now, imagine the desert wind, soft, thin, gentle, moving across the surface of the sand like a hand smoothing fabric. It is not a storm, it is not loud. It is the kind of wind that makes you want to close your eyes. In the distance, the pyramids remain still. And somewhere beneath the sand, in the cool chambers of Saqqara, the wrapped forms remain at rest, protected not only by stone, but by the respect of those who chose not to disturb them. This is the final meaning of the Golden Rule. Sometimes the deepest care is restraint. We do not touch what we simply look, with kindness. And then we leave everything exactly as it is so it can keep sleeping. You can do the same with your thoughts. If a thought appears, you do not have to grab it. You can look at it softly, then let it drift away like a small cloud crossing the moon. If a feeling appears, loneliness, sadness, fatigue, you do not have to fight it. You can look at it softly and let it rest beside you like a quiet companion that does not need to speak, because tonight, you are not alone here. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. And if this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. Not a performance, not a big announcement, just a small, kind trace, like an amulet near the heart. And if tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. And don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful nighttime journeys. Now let the story become even slower, even simpler, as if words themselves are growing sleepy. Imagine the cool corridor one last time, but without details, just coolness, just shadow, just the low lamp. Imagine linen folded somewhere in the dark. Imagine a name written carefully and then closed inside a ledger. Imagine the seam tied and held. Imagine the amulet resting near the heart. And then let those images fade, not as loss, but as a gentle dimming, like a lamp being lowered until it becomes only a warm ember. Your eyelids can be heavy. Your breathing can be slow. Your thoughts can be soft and far away. Inhale, exhale. If there is anything still unfinished in your mind, anything still open, let it settle like sand. No rush, no solving, just settling. And as you settle, you can let the desert keep watch, let the stars keep watch, let the quiet triangles of Giza keep watch. Let the past keep watch like soft lanterns in the dark. And you can sleep. Softly, safely, as though you were being wrapped in calm, as though the whole night is a gentle hand smoothing the world. Inhale, exhale.
Our story pauses here. Every visual and word you've experienced was assisted by AI, yet guided and perfected by sincere human emotion. We hope this harmony of history and technology has crafted a beautiful dream for you tonight. Let go and drift deep into sleep. Good night.